Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt are one of Hollywood's most iconic couples. But there's a movie they starred in together that never made it to the big screen. During the shoot, cameras would record invisible figures, and at night, they would both have the same terrifying dreams. In the final scene, just before the lights went out, shadows seemed to permeate their being. This wasn't just a movie. This was a warning. Now, I'm going to tell you the scariest secret story in Hollywood. It all started in the mid-2000s in one of the ancient cities of Europe. Angelina and Brad were preparing for the filming of a new film project. The film told a mystical love story. According to the script, two people were connected, but between them, there was an invisible force that could both unite and tear them apart. The location chosen for the shooting was not accidental. It was an ancient mansion from the 1700s. Once upon a time, this building, inhabited by an aristocratic family, had been empty for many years. Local residents did not dare to approach it because strange and frightening rumors circulated about the mansion. According to legend, once upon a time there lived a couple who were head over heels in love with each other. However, one night, a mysterious incident occurred in this house, and the next morning both of them were found dead. Interestingly, at that time, all the doors of the house were locked from the inside and the windows were tightly closed. No trace was found. The film crew laughed when they heard these stories and thought they were just a local legend. But from the very first night, strange things began to happen. Angelina felt the first state. She had always said that she was very sensitive to energies. As soon as she entered the mansion, she stopped and began to pay attention to the walls, as if listening to something. A few seconds later, she said in a low voice that they were not alone here. Everyone took it as a joke. But that night, when Angelina was alone in the room where she was staying, an unusual thing happened. She suddenly woke up. The room was completely dark. Only the moonlight filtering through the window was visible. But there was another shadow in the room. It was not her own shadow, because the shadow was moving on the wall while there was no one in the room. She cautiously got out of bed. The shadow silently crept towards the door and disappeared without a trace. Then the door slowly opened by itself. That night, Brad also had an unusual experience. He was reading the script. There was a scene in the script. A male character suddenly wakes up at night and does not see his reflection in the mirror. Brad jokingly said that this scene was a bit exaggerated. But that very night, when he went into the bathroom and looked in the mirror, he was faced with something incomprehensible. The opposite was visible, but there was a strange lag. He turned his head to the left, but the image in the mirror moved only a second later. Brad tried to accept this incident as the cause of fatigue. However, deep down, somewhere inside, a seed of uneasy fear began to sprout. The following days, filming continued without interruption. The camera often had technical malfunctions. Sounds did not record, and lighting equipment broke down. In one scene, Angelina and Brad stood very close to each other. According to the script, they were supposed to just look at each other. But when the footage reached the editing table, the editing team encountered something unusual. In the back of the frame, at the top of the stairs, an unknown female silhouette was visible. No one had been there before. The director took this image as a simple technical glitch. However, the same silhouette appeared in 3 subsequent frames. In one of them, the silhouette even turned its head to the side, as if looking at the camera. Angelina was becoming increasingly silent. She had noted several times that at night, she heard whispers, like a woman's voice. The voice told her, "Don't let her go, or you will both be stuck here." Meanwhile, Brad was becoming more and more aggressive. He was getting angry and reacting sharply to even the most ordinary things. It was as if an invisible tension was squeezing them, not allowing them to breathe. One night, a lighting technician working for the film crew went down to the basement of the mansion. He discovered an old chest there. Yellowed letters came out of the chest. It turned out that the letters belonged to an ancient couple. Their text contained strange phrases. "Our love will live forever within these walls. If we try to leave, the house will not forgive us. Love here breeds death." After reading these letters, the number of strange events increased even more. One night, Angelina dreamed that she was walking down a long corridor of the mansion. At the end of this corridor, where the walls were the color of dark blood, there was a door. When she opened the door, she found herself in front of her, but her eyes were completely black. That other Angelina whispered softly, "This is yours now." Angelina woke up screaming in fear. At the same time, Brad suddenly woke up in the other room, because he had also seen the same corridor in his dream. However, at the end of the corridor, he did not see Angelina, but himself hanging. While they were sharing their dreams during breakfast, a sudden cold atmosphere was felt in the room. Several of the film crew left the project. They reported hearing footsteps and cries at night. One operator even claimed that two unusual figures, one male, one female, sometimes appeared on the camera screen behind Angelina and Brad. Despite all the difficulties, the director was far from stopping the project. He thought that this would be a great advertisement for the film, but everything changed completely on the last night. The final scene was being filmed. According to the script, the characters were supposed to leave the mansion and start a new life. They had to go out the door. Angelina and Brad were walking hand in hand toward the door. The camera was moving. Everything seemed ordinary. Suddenly, the door slammed shut, and the lights went out. In the pitch darkness, only one sound was heard, a woman's and a man's voice, whispering softly together, "No one will leave here." The panic began. As soon as the generator started, everyone froze for a moment. Angelina and Brad were standing in front of the door, but they were motionless. Their eyes were open, but their gazes seemed completely meaningless. It was as if their souls had left their bodies. After a few seconds, they blinked at the same time and began to look around in surprise. They said they didn't remember anything, but the camera kept rolling. Then when they watched the footage, everyone was horrified. In the last few seconds before the lights went out, two shadowy figures could be seen behind them. Those shadows slowly approached them. When the lights went out completely, it was as if the shadows had disappeared into them. After this incident, the film was left unfinished. The official reason was creative disagreements. However, according to rumors after those filming, Angelina and Brad had the same nightmare for a long time. A long corridor, red walls, and a couple holding hands, their eyes closed. Some people believed that that ancient mansion served as a kind of mirror. The unfinished energy of the couple who lived there was connected to the new ones. Love, jealousy, fear, and the fear of separation were absorbed into the walls of the mansion. And what is the scariest thing? According to rumors, the mansion is still empty. However, sometimes at night, two shadows appear in the windows, one female, one male. They stand side by side. If you look closely, you can see that the shadows change from time to time. Sometimes these shadows belong to an ancient couple, and sometimes they're said to look very similar to the silhouettes of Angelina and Brad. According to legend, that house feeds on one thing: the fear of commitment. If two people become very attached to each other and then part, the house absorbs their energy. Maybe it's just a horror story. Maybe it's true, maybe not. But there is one last shot preserved in the film archives and never released. In that shot, Angelina and Brad walk towards the door. Everything seems ordinary. Then, for a brief moment, they both look at the camera at the same time. They smile. But that smile doesn't look like a human smile, and their eyes are completely dark. As the screen fades to black, only one sentence is heard whispered: "Love never ends. It just changes form."